Rose was starting a new semester, but she felt more lost than ever. Last term, she had managed to improve some of her grades after a rough start. The results were better, but not enough to get the financial aid she badly needed. That meant her parents had to keep paying, and she hated it. She had tried looking for a part-time job, but so far, no luck. Her campus was in a small town with a weak job market, especially for students. So, finding one was tough. Her early dream of having an exciting and easier life after getting into her dream college was already shattered. It was hard instead. Classes were challenging, good grades even more so, and any good job in the future would probably depend on those grades. She was starting to regret the major she picked. All of it made Rose incredibly stressed, but she didn't want her parents to know. Not as long as she could deal with it herself. She didn't want to burden them any further. Because of that, lately, she didn't even feel like going home on weekends. Tired of pretending everything was fine. Staying at the rental house she shared with her 4 college friends just felt easier. And it did bring them closer. Maybe because they felt more relaxed on weekends, they became more open with each other. One weekend night, while they were all hanging out in the living room, Jane, Rose's roommate, suddenly teased her. "You're the jumpiest one here, Rose. Sensitive, easily scared. Why is that?" Jane asked. Rose just gave a tight smile, embarrassed. She didn't like that part of herself, and she definitely didn't enjoy talking about it. But since they'd grown closer lately, she did want her housemates to understand that her fears weren't just random. So, reluctantly, she began to share something from her past. Something she rarely told anyone. Back when she was a kid, her family used to live in a different part of the city. It was a tight-knit neighborhood with modest homes packed close together. The street outside her old house was so narrow, only one small car could pass at a time. One side of Rose's childhood home was next to a large extended family property. Their land wasn't any bigger, but they had divided it into 4 parts. 3 homes for 3 sisters and their families, and a shared backyard. A 7-foot wall separated their backyard from Rose's. Each yard had an outdoor bathroom, a washing area, and a clothesline. But the one everyone whispered about was the oldest daughter. Rumor had it, she was a love shaman. Not a healer, not the good kind. She made magic potions to force people fall in love with whoever bought them. No one knew if it was true, but the neighbors believed it. They said the shaman didn't work alone. She had help from a spirit, a demon spirit, a jinn. In return, she had to give regular offerings or do rituals. If she skipped them, the jinn would lash out. Some neighbors even claimed they'd seen or heard it, objects flying or crashing in the backyard, where the spirit supposedly lived. Oddly, even though their backyards shared a wall, Rose and her family had never heard anything strange. Still, the rumors made their skin crawl. As for Rose's family, it was pretty big too. She had 2 older siblings and 2 toddlers younger than her. Her mom was always busy with the house and 5 kids, and her dad usually worked late. With their attention spread thin, Rose, stuck in the middle, often got overlooked. It didn't really bother her though. She actually took advantage of it in a mischievous way. While her mom wrangled the toddlers, Rose would sneak out after school to play with friends. Sometimes even in the evenings, sometimes pretty far from home. Her older brother was even worse. He'd wander off and get into fights. Rose's friends were all over the neighborhood. That's how she picked up most of the local stories, including the ones about the shaman and her jinn. But the creepiest stuff Rose heard about the shaman and the jinn actually came from Maxine. She was one of Rose's closest friends and 2 years older than her. Maxine was the youngest daughter of the neighbor across the street. Unlike Rose, she was a sweet homebody and really close to her mom. But Maxine's mom liked to gossip, and she passed those stories on to her daughters. Then Maxine passed them on to Rose. Maxine's older sister also shared things with Rose's older sister, who then talked about them with Rose. So the stories just kind of made their way around. Rose's parents rarely talked about the shaman next door, particularly not about her work, and definitely not about the spirit. They didn't like living next to her. They thought what she did was dangerous. In their religion, witchcraft and evil spirits were forbidden. Rose never knew if her parents had ever seen the jinn. But every night, all the kids had to go together to the outdoor bathroom before bed. One kid would go in, the others waited nearby. After that, the back door was locked for the night. But one night, Rose saw her mom rush back in from the bathroom, looking scared. She whispered something to her dad. But when they noticed Rose watching, they quickly changed the subject. Rose never found out what really happened to her mom that night, but she never forgot the look on her mom's face. And that wasn't the last strange thing that happened. A few months later, Aunt Jasmine, Dad's younger sister, who still lived in their hometown, came to visit and stayed with them for a while. One night, she went out alone to use the bathroom. But just minutes later, she rushed back in. She looked terrified. She slammed the back door shut and frantically locked it. The noise startled the whole family. Still shaking, Aunt Jasmine told them what had just happened. She said that as she was walking back to the house from the bathroom, she suddenly felt a wave of dread. Her skin crawled, her head felt heavy, and she had this strong feeling. Someone was watching her, closely, from the neighbor's backyard. That part was dark, but the light from their yard spilled just enough over the boundary wall to faintly light the top. And that's when she saw it. A terrifying, tall, pitch-black figure standing behind the wall. Its head and shoulders were clearly above the top. No face, no movement. Just a solid dark shadow, shaped like a person, watching her intently. Aunt Jasmine was sure it wasn't a human standing on something. She had already felt creeped out even before she saw it. And the moment she did, she freaked out and ran inside. Since the kids were also listening, Rose's dad tried to joke it off. Said maybe it was just the neighbor's cousin being creepy. But Aunt Jasmine shook her head. No way, she said. That wasn't human. She wasn't new to creepy stuff. She and Dad had grown up in a remote village surrounded by mountains, forests, and vast valleys. At night, it could get pitch black and kind of eerie. There were even deep ravines with fast-flowing rivers that had taken lives before. So yeah, she was used to ghost stories and spooky places. But maybe that's exactly why she was caught off guard. Rose's neighborhood seemed so flat, so normal, so easy to live in. She hadn't expected something terrifying to show up right in front of her eyes. The shock hit her hard. Rose's parents finally told her the truth about the shaman next door and her demon spirit. They said it wasn't dangerous and tried to keep her calm. But it was too late. Aunt got so shaken, she fell sick and never used the bathroom alone at night again. It's not really the ghost that scared me, she said. It's how suddenly it appeared. That moment lingered in Rose's mind. Now she knew for sure the stories about the witch next door and the jinn were real. And that terrified her. Actually, even before Aunt's incident, Rose sometimes had trouble sleeping. Maybe she played too much during the day, so at night she felt restless. While her siblings went to bed, she'd stay up in the living room with her mom, who usually dozed off on the couch, waiting for Dad to come home from work. Her mom scolded her for it, but Rose was stubborn. Exhausted, Mom finally gave in but banned her from watching television. So she'd just sit on the floor in the quiet, waiting for sleep to come. Then one night, Rose couldn't sleep, again. As usual, she sat beside her sleeping mom, bored, with only her doll to play with. The silence made her think of Aunt Jasmine's story. Then came the fear. She wanted to wake her mom, but what if she got scolded? Just as she hesitated, something strange happened. It felt like an invisible force tugged at her eyes, pulling her gaze up to the dark vent above the kitchen door. The door separated the front part of the house from the kitchen, and it was always shut at night since the kitchen light was off. But the darkness showed through the vent above. That night, it looked alive, reaching out. Every time Rose tried to turn her face toward her mom, something pulled her gaze back to the darkness. Fear and panic froze her. She couldn't look away, couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then the fear exploded. First a tiny squeak, then full-on crying. Her mom woke up, startled, asking what was wrong. Rose could only point at the vent, stammering, "There! There!" "There what?" her mom asked, confused, looking where Rose pointed. The noise woke her siblings. Rose couldn't explain why she was crying, so her mom told her to go sleep in the bedroom with them. Her older sister was annoyed. "That's what you get for being stubborn," she snapped. Then came that one fateful evening, when Rose snuck out the house again. This time, Maxine was with her. They're walking home from buying snacks. They're passing through the narrow alley next to the shaman's house. Outside her side door, a small crowd had gathered. Curious, Rose and Maxine joined them. From inside the house, a man was shouting, loud and angry. People around them were whispering,
"Someone's possessed. The jinn was lashing out. It said the offerings were forgotten,"
they murmured. Possessed? What is that? Rose wondered, confused. Her curiosity flared. Without thinking, she pulled Maxine with her and slipped past the crowd into the house, since the door was open. Strangely, instead of a man roaring, they saw a middle-aged woman sitting on a sofa, shouting with a deep, hoarse voice that definitely wasn't her own. Her long hair was messy because she'd been pulling it with her own hands. Her eyes looked wild, her face darkened and scary. But Rose could still recognize her. She was one of the shaman's younger sisters, a daily helper who worked around the neighborhood. Even Rose's mom sometimes hired her. In front of her sat her older sister, the shaman, looking calm and focused. She splashed some liquid on her younger sister's face and blew on her forehead. The male roar turned into a high-pitched wail. Then silence. Her body went limp, slumping against the back of the sofa. The color on her face slowly returned to normal, though still looked pale and drained. The woman finally came to and sat up straight. She looked around in confusion. "What's going on here?" she asked. "I was doing laundry in the backyard just a moment ago." "Why were you doing laundry in the dark?" the shaman scolded her. "I didn't have time earlier," her sister snapped back. Then her eyes swept over the crowd again, clearly embarrassed, and stopped right on Rose. She looked away quickly, even more flustered. "Oh, Rose is here too?" she mumbled, glancing awkwardly at her. Rose was stunned. There were so many people in the room, the woman's kids and grandkids included. But when she came out of the trance, the first person she recognized after the shaman was Rose. But since Rose was only 9 and still naive, instead of being creeped out, she felt flattered. Soon after, the shaman started clearing out everyone who wasn't family, including Rose and Maxine. As they stepped out, Rose was still feeling proud. But then Maxine leaned in and whispered with a spooky tone, Rose, looks like Ginny knows you. That's scary. Better watch out." Maxine's words snapped Rose out of it, and her pride vanished instantly. Now it hit her. What just happened was scary. Why would someone who had just been possessed recognize her? She turned to Maxine, stunned. Then fear crept in. Her eyes widened, her lips began to tremble. Instead of comforting her, Maxine giggled and it scared Rose even more. She screamed and ran home, with Maxine's laughter echoing behind her. The moment Rose burst into the house screaming, her mom scolded her. "It's late. What's with all the screaming?" Still out of breath, Rose quickly told her what had happened at the neighbor's house. She thought it would sound exciting, but her mom's face turned pale. And when she mentioned the possessed woman recognizing her, her mom freaked out. "Oh my God, Rose, you shouldn't have gone near her. That's dangerous," she snapped. Then lightly smacked Rose on the head with a rolled-up newspaper. Rose ducked and rubbed her head, wincing. From a safe distance, Rose tried to shift the blame onto Maxine. She told her mom how Maxine had said it wasn't the sister who recognized her. It was the djinn. But that only made her mom freak out even more. She was so upset, she grounded Rose for a week. From then on, Rose changed. She wasn't sure if it was because of the possession incident, but maybe Maxine was right. Maybe the djinn really did recognize her. Or even marked her. Hadn't the djinn lived in the backyard next door for years? She started becoming more sensitive and more afraid. She could sense things, strong emotions, strange energy, even objects that just felt wrong. Thankfully, it was rare to see actual ghosts, like that terrifying, dark, misty figure at the yellow house. Rose couldn't handle it if that became normal. She hated being like this. Her parents just said she was a little sensitive. When she told them things, they brushed her off. Other people did too. And the few who actually believed her ended up avoiding her. Not being believed, or being avoided, made Rose feel rejected, disappointed, and alone. Eventually, she stopped telling anyone, not only about the scary stuff, but also about her feelings in general. Now, after finally opening up, her housemates sat in silence. Anne and Jane looked sympathetic, but Liz looked uneasy. Rose couldn't blame her. She herself still didn't know how to deal with it. She'd read true stories and watched shows about people like her trying to get help. And sometimes, those stories said things got worse. And that terrified her. Compared to them, Rose knew her sensitivity was still pretty mild. It mostly showed up when she was exhausted or stressed out, or when she was sick with a fever and felt out of it. She absolutely didn't want it to get any stronger. Still, even her mild sensitivity caused problems. As she grew more timid, Rose sometimes couldn't tell if the creepy things were real or just in her head. That was also one of the reasons why she kept things to herself. She just wasn't sure. Deep down, she knew. Finally, someday she'd have to face it and dealt with it. Right now, though, she just wasn't ready. So for now, when strange things started happening, when a shadow moved wrong, or the air turned heavy, she didn't investigate. She didn't call out. She only had two choices. Ignore it. Or run.